All right, everyone. It's Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. You know that it is conference media days this week from the SEC, the ACC, the Big 12, and the Big 10, and we are covering it like no other here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. So please check out the videos. If you're coming across us for a first time, check out the videos first. Then you will come to find that we provide top-notch discussion, debate, and analysis. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and lock it in for the 2019 college football season. We're talking Alabama with Stephen M. Smith from touchdownalabama.com. touchdownalabama.com. Join him right there. The rest of the staff in covering the Crimson Tide. Stephen has just made it back safely, sound from SEC Football Media Day. Stephen, how you doing?
Doing well. It's always a wild jungle in Hoover, the Hyatt Regency Winfrey Hotel when you talk media day, in particular the day that Alabama takes center stage of this event.
Absolutely. We see the shots on television and online. It's becoming more and more each year, almost like a rock artist showing up at the arena with the fans lined up wanting souvenirs and autographs and the like, and just to get a handshake from somebody. And that somebody this year, in addition to Nick Saban, was Jerry Jeudy, Tua Tagovailoa, and Dylan Moses. So before we dig into the football, of course, Stephen, the food, what did you have? What was on hand? What was available to you? And did you overdo it?
I did not overdo it, but what was available was awesome. They had Southern-style fried chicken. They had baked chicken there as well. They had some really, really good three-cheese macaroni with chives. Whoever made that macaroni put their heart and soul and foot into that three-cheese macaroni. It was fantastic. I had some cornbread there. The sweet had a couple pieces of sweet potato pie. Some red velvet cake was also on hand. But the MVP was whomever made that three-cheese macaroni with chives.
Absolutely, Stephen. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself, and I'm glad that you can appreciate the delicacies and the intricacies within the delicacies. So I always love to get your take on the game day or the event food. That's always a good time. So we know what went into your mouth, but what came out of the mouths of the likes of Nick Saban in particular? We'll start from the top with the head coach. Of course, he had to be asked about the psyche of the team, the mentality, the lessons learned from 44-16.
Of course, Mark. And one of the things Nick Saban touched on first was this team, as he stated all spring, getting back to the Bama way of doing things, getting back to being physical, getting back to being a sound, fundamental team, getting back to having that internal leadership among the players, not just with the coaches expecting big things and doing things right, but also the players holding each other accountable and holding themselves accountable for doing the right thing. He spoke very highly on peer-to-peer leadership, older guys teaching younger guys, the whole reach one, teach one method. And he ended that segment with, look, we understand people want their individual numbers. They want that self-gratification, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, when that team succeeds as a whole, you see more and more people get value to seeing how the whole team has come together. So for him, last year, he saw a lot of eyes, a lot of needs, did not see a lot of us and team. And that was the players as well as some of the guys in the coaching staff thinking further ahead to, other jobs, not having the full mindset on the postseason against the likes of Oklahoma and the semifinal for the college football playoff, and of course Clemson in the national championship game. So Nick Saban wants the full team on board this season.
Stephen, this has been a theme a few times when Alabama has not reached the ultimate prize, when they have not completed the mission. I'm thinking back to the kick 6 year, the loss to Oklahoma in the Sugar Bowl, after 2013. I'm thinking back, maybe it was a little less stated in 2014 after losing to Ohio State. And then 2 years later in the national championship game on the last play of the game, virtually the last play of the game against Clemson. But where because the goal was not achieved, the mission was not accomplished, the national championship was not won, that there are thoughts that there had to have been a distraction, that players must have been thinking about the NFL and paying too much attention to their NFL draft stock and not completing the season, and that assistant coaches were running around looking at their next job, or maybe they had already been hired and were distracted as well, just because the mission wasn't accomplished. I don't know if that's an easy default narrative to go to because the championship wasn't won?
Well, I mean, you still have to play the game on the field, Mark. And the fact that Alabama did not play its best game on the field, there is still that. I mean, give Clemson all the credit possible in the national championship game. Dabo Swinney had his guys coached up, but not just coached up. They executed to precision. The offensive line of Clemson kept Alabama from getting the pass rush, but you allowed for Trevor Lawrence to have a major game, playing pitch and catch with guys like T. Higgins and, of course, Justin Ross. And then you have to give Brent Venables a ton of credit defensively for putting all the playmakers on the field, throwing some looks that maybe Tua Tagovailoa had never seen before as a first-year starting quarterback, and rattling him and just taking Alabama out of their element, so to speak. So there is still the variable of no matter what the situation is externally, you still have to play the game, and you still have to play your best game. And in the situations where Alabama has not finished the deal, that variable of play your best game was not accomplished.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down the Crimson Tide. Our very best way to do that is to invite, of course, Stephen M. Smith to the show. You can join Stephen and the rest of the crew at touchdownalabama.com, touchdownalabama.com. Stephen joins us after his stint at SEC Media Days. I didn't catch it, Steve. Did you make a TV appearance this year, as you have many times in the past?
Made the TV appearance this year. One of my buddies got the photo, sent it to me, and he quote tweeted the photo saying, "You are officially legendary now."
Well, no. That's been well established years back that you've been legendary. And I believe I saw in your Facebook post today that you've attended 8 SEC Media Days now.
This was the 8th one.
Uh-oh, I think you've eclipsed me. If I'm doing the math correctly, 1994 through 2000 are 7 years. So I think you've eclipsed me now.
You know what? I didn't even think about that.
So, Stephen, something that I always look forward to, of course, we want to hear football talk, and it's fresh football talk, even though there's nothing to talk about new on the field. It's just good to know, okay, we're revving up, we're gearing up. We can hear something different. We can get some different sound bites and at least talk it from a different angle before we actually hit the field for fall camp in early August. But one of the things that I have found very poignant and interesting has been Nick Saban routinely hits the podium at SEC Media Days, and he has an agenda. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm saying that in a very positive way. There is something that goes well beyond typically the Alabama program and sometimes beyond the SEC to the nation, a point or two that he specifically wants to get across, basically makes it known in an underlying fashion that I'm not going to be ranting and raving about this the whole season, but this is important to me, and I want to get this point across because I know everybody's listening and everybody's watching from across the country, and the focus is on our conference media days. So I'm making my statement about this is what's wrong with, let's say, the SEC or college football or whatever the issue, or this is what I would like to see changed. Did he have that type of approach this year?
He did, and the common theme for a lot of the coaches today, but most importantly Nick Saban, throughout the week was the graduate transfer portal or the NCAA transfer portal. And Nick Saban was throwing that question as he's had a couple of guys hit that portal. More notably here, junior tight end Kedrick James, of whom Alabama had a lot of high hopes to have a big year this year in trying to fill in for the departed Irv Smith Jr. and Hale Henches. And one of the things that Saban harped on was he understands that players want to play. He understands that players, if you don't have a situation where there could be a role carved out for you or an opportunity carved out for you at the place where you are currently at, then he has no problem with that player transferring. But his gripe is the college football, to him, college football has become too liberal to where they're giving out more waivers than what they can account for. And college football to him is becoming more of a free agency ordeal to where, these teams, these programs cannot keep a stable roster together. In his mindset, he feels as though transfer, yeah, that's fine, but let's have them sit out a year. That's how it always was prior to now. Have them sit out a year, let them sit out, and then once that year of sitting out is done, then they can be immediately eligible to play. But just having all these waivers going back and forth, and these guys being immediately eligible upon getting that waiver, that's kind of the gripe that Saban has. And I understand that gripe, but at this point, Mark, it's a trend, and I don't see that trend slowing down because, quite frankly, these kids, especially at quarterback, these young men want to play.
Absolutely, they do, and the trend is right there as you outline, and it's one of those deals that's not going to be reversed. We're not going to halt this and then start moving in the opposite direction. It's as the saying goes, Pandora's box has been opened and it's out, and now it just needs to be maintained, controlled in some reasonable fashion, and some parameters put on it. We got Stephen M. Smith on the line from touchdownalabama.com, so please join him for the best in Alabama football coverage. Stephen's been joining us for a number of years. I'm guessing this is 5 or 6 media days that he's covered for us in particular, let alone his streak of 8 total media days. This year's in Hoover, Alabama. There was some talk in some of the comments that I caught that Tua Tagovailoa was instructed by Saban to lose a few pounds, that he was on a pretty strict nutritional regimen during the offseason, needed to get his workouts in, and needed to lose, a little baby fat, maybe 5 or 6 pounds, maybe 10, something in that range. Was that discussed?
It was, and that was even discussed prior to the media days. After the season, Tua's from Hawaii. The brand name food in Hawaii is the Kalua pig. So definitely Tua went home, got him some good pig, and got him some other Hawaiian treats that he's very fond of, and picked up some weight. I remember when he came back to start classes, you had a couple of the Senior Bowl guys come in and weigh a couple of the Alabama players that will be able to declare for the 2020 NFL draft, or will be eligible to declare for the draft. One of those guys is Tua Tagovailoa, and he measured in at 6 feet, 230 pounds, which is bigger than what he's listed at on Rolltide.com, which is 218 pounds. So Nick Saban did instruct Tua, did instruct the family. He's going to have to drop some weight. We need him mobile. We need him to be able to move within the pocket. We want him making those smart decisions of throwing the football and manipulating those defenses, but we want him at the best health and being able to do so, especially with, Tua nursing some injuries this past year despite playing through the pain. So Tua's been on that strict diet. Scott Cochran and the nutritionist at Alabama, Ms. Amy Bragg, have both worked rigorously with Tua. He's dropped that weight. He's now down to 215. He's dropped 15 pounds. He's gone from 230. He's at 215, 3 pounds lighter than his playing weight from this past season. Around that 215 to 220 range is about what Nick Saban wanted from Tua.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, covering SEC football media days. You will hear reports from the Big Ten, the ACC, and the Big 12 as well. The Pac-12 hits the podium next week on the 24th. We got Stephen M. Smith from Touchdown Alabama on the line. Tua made mention on SEC Network that he wants to clean up the interceptions, which I believe all of them came in the second half of the season. He was really coasting along with a historic type season. It still turned out to be prolific. Of course, he came within votes of winning the Heisman Trophy, but he started to throw some costly interceptions late in the season against the better teams, and he really wants to clean that up while still balancing that out with the mentality that he can still show off his arm, take opportunities, take calculated risks to make big plays.
Absolutely. 4 of 2 of 6 picks came in postseason play. He had 2 against Georgia. He had 2 against Clemson in the title game. One was returned by a touchdown via A.J. Terrell. The biggest thing with Tua is understanding if the big play is not there, it's not a detriment. And Tua's been kind of trained to always go for the big play ever since childhood. From childhood, going up to high school ball, working with Trent Dilfer at the Elite 11, things of that nature. He's always been kind of had it engraved in his mind. If the big play is not there, am I doing something wrong? If I don't hit the big play, am I not executing the way I need to? And what he has to understand is if the big play is not there, it's not an issue. Be secure in the ability to check the ball down, get 5 yards, get 6 yards, get 7 yards. What Saban wants is for Tua to consistently and confidently move the ball downfield without having to always go for the big bomb. If the big bomb presents itself, hey, that's great. But if it does not present itself, don't sit there and force something that may not be there. Use the check down, move the ball down the field, and in return, take better care of your body. Slide to protect yourself, throw the ball out of bounds. Of course, this year, Alabama will have a much improved offensive line. Alex Netherwood and Jedrick Wills will anchor both tackle spots. As of right now, Chris Owens looks to be the guy at center. Alabama can mix and match with their guards. As of right now, if I had to call it, it would be Emil Ikior Jr., the redshirt freshman at left guard, and at right guard, the redshirt senior and Matt Womack. The biggest thing for Tua, understanding checking the ball down is okay.
Stephen M. Smith, Touchdown Alabama, joining us to talk Alabama football here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Please help us build the channel. Grab the Amazon link. Do your Amazon shopping using that link. Also, we've got our voice of college football community. Grab the link and join us there. I will have more explanations about what's coming up there on our voice of college football community as we head into football season, but you'll want to tap into that resource. And again, touchdownalabama.com. It's remarkable the volume and quality of insight and information that Stephen and the rest of the staff provides right there. You mentioned Tua taking shots downfield at a premium when it really means something and when it really has that opportunity for a calculated risk. And many times when he does so, it's going to be directed toward Jerry Jeudy, who had a prolific season in and of himself and was obviously impressive enough off the field as well to garnish the selection to SEC Media Days by his coach. So what was the theme around the questioning of Jerry Jeudy, and what did he have to say?
The one thing about Jeudy is this is a young man that's just prepared to work and build off a season where he was the Fred Biletnikoff Award winner. The entire offseason, I have never seen a young man attend so many camps, so many events, just find ways to work out. It was one moment Jeudy was with Antonio Brown of the National Football League. The next moment he's back at home in South Florida working out. The next moment he's at some random location working on routes. The guy is a perfectionist in terms of wanting to get his craft down pack, and we can see why, due to so many NFL draft analysts have him as a top 5 pick going into the 2020 draft. We have some that say we'll go better than top 5. We'll make Jeudy the number 1 overall pick. Now, two are talking about, I may have some things to say about that, but his number 1 wide receiver at this point, viewed by a lot of guys out there as the potential number 1 overall pick. Now, the questions that were thrown at him, basically, who's the best wide receiver of the quartet? between he, Henry Ruggs, Devonta Smith, and one Jalen Waddle. Of course, Jerry Jeudy kind of chuckled at that. He's not trying to compare himself amongst the team, but he knows who he is. But at the same time, he knows that Henry Ruggs has a strength that Jerry Jeudy may not be able to match in terms of Ruggs' speed and just uncanny ability to accelerate when he wants to, and Jalen Waddle's ability to showcase his quickness, his cheetah-like acceleration. With Devonta Smith, kind of the quiet guy, but he's the silent assassin. If you don't pay attention to him, he will catch a game-winning touchdown on you. We've seen this documented quite a few times now. So Jeudy very secure in who he is as a big-time receiver, but always funny when the guys want to ask him, compare yourself amongst your teammates. Do you think that you're better than those guys? He kind of just laughs and chuckles around.
For the folks on the live stream, if you've got anything for Steven, certainly leave it in the live chat room, and I will convey that to Steven. Meanwhile, I'm going to ask him about the defensive side and Dylan Moses. Again, similar to the Jerry Jeudy questioning, anything that stands out to you in regards to what he was asked, what he had to say, and how he's approaching 2019?
I spent probably my most deal of time with Dylan. He walked in very calm, cool, collected. A guy that prior to this year was an introvert. Didn't like to talk a lot. We know his story. He comes in a 5-star from Baton Rouge, Louisiana in 2017. A guy that has the build to be a big-time, special, game-changing player at inside linebacker. But as he walked in, you kind of felt something different, as though he wanted to talk. And he had some things to get off his chest. And one of the big things he spoke on was why he chose to become more of a vocal leader this season. And the reason for that is he wants to learn more about his teammates. He wants to reason with them. He wants to listen to what's going on with them, not just from a football perspective, but any personal issues that they may have. He wants to be that guy that players like Raekwon Davis, LeBron Ray, Terrell Lewis, just different guys on the team, they can come talk to him and break bread or fellowship with him, so to speak. And he wants to be that way just due to he wants to create that team, that family atmosphere. That's a big thing with Dylan coming up into his junior year. He spoke very highly of some of the young linebackers that Alabama's going to mix and match and trying to find that piece that can play next to Dylan in nickel or in the regular package. And two of the guys who spoke on, Shane Lee and Jalen Moody, both guys very talented, both guys did well in the spring game. And as long as they continue to develop in the film room, get stronger in that weight room, and understand the system of what Nick Saban's bringing, Moses sees very, very high potential and high quality from both Lee and Jalen Moody. In terms of Josh McMillan, here's a guy that Saban wants to see emerge and take that weak side linebacker spot next to Dylan. McMillan, a redshirt senior, came in that 2015 class, a former 4-star at 6'3", 237 pounds from Memphis, Tennessee. He's a thumper. He's very, very physical, very smart, highly knowledgeable of the system. Taught Dylan Moses a lot, as Moses told me. But the one thing I want to see from McMillan is, can he grow from being kind of just that plug-and-play serviceable guy? Can he be explosive in his ability to create tackles, to create those negative plays? Not saying that you cannot win with a plug-and-play guy. You very well can. But for me, I want to see him be that explosive playmaker, being right next to one Dylan Moses. So one of the main thing that Moses spoke on is just him trying to get a better feel for his teammates and building that team mentality.
Hey, Stephen, we understand the challenges at SEC football media days in regards to hearing from everyone. You're there to cover Alabama first and foremost. You track the SEC as well. But once you hear from Saban, you track down the players. You're all over the place trying to figure things out. That it's sometimes difficult to hear from everyone. But was there anything else said from the particular players and coaches, whether it was on Alabama Day or any of the other days throughout the week, Monday through Wednesday that caught your ear in regards to something interesting or a storyline or a story about any of the other teams in the SEC?
There were a couple. Number one, Kirby Smart has Alabama on his mind. Kirby Smart wants to knock out this football team, and he was throwing a lot of questions about Nick Saban's record against former assistants. He was throwing questions about can you get over that hump of beating Nick Saban, of taking out the backup quarterback. You got beaten by a backup quarterback in the last 2 years when you faced Alabama, and of course, Kirby very fiery in his answer. He feels as though he's got the team. He's got the players that have matched Alabama's physicality. They just have not been able to close and finish the deal. And of course, one of his leaders, defensive back J.R. Reed, did not mix any words. He came out and flat out said, "Look, I want another crack at the SEC championship. I want another crack at the national title, and I don't care who the opponent is." So just based off that right there, J.R. Reed wants a shot at getting back to the big stage. Georgia wants a shot at getting back to the big stage and closing out the deal. So that was some intrigue there. The other piece of intrigue was Arkansas. And to me, Chad Morris came up to the podium today. He ripped off probably a 25-minute speech on his team, and a lot of guys in the media kind of yawned and left the room saying, well, this is not really important. But to me, I felt like Chad Morris said it in a way to where he knows what he has. And when I look at Arkansas, this is a program that quite naturally or normally, when they've had quality play at quarterback, when they've had balance on offense, when they've had leadership, junior and senior laden leadership on defense, they have been known to give teams, in particular Alabama, a very physical, a very tough, a very competitive football game. When I look at the Hogs, they've got guys back on offense. Defensively, they got some leadership pieces in Dijon Harris and Kelvin Ajum. They have to see, do they have the quarterback in the line? They've got three guys. Ben Hicks coming over from SMU. You've got Nick Starkel coming over from Texas A&M. You signed a 4-star dual threat in KJ Jefferson for the 2019 class. So Chad Morris has got some guys. The question will be which one of the three quarterbacks will rise in fall camp and set Arkansas up to be that physical monster that they are from time to time.
For those of us watching that have not been college football fans for long, maybe you're a little bit younger, you probably don't realize the legacy, the tradition of Arkansas football. I'm not going to say that it's blue blood or elite. It's not, but it's probably on that next level. If you go look at any metric involving conference championships back for them, mostly in the Southwest Conference, they've been to a number of SEC championship games, have not won the SEC title, but have played in more SEC championship games than some other teams that you'd be surprised to hear since they came into the league in 1991, I believe it was, with South Carolina. But Arkansas football is rich in tradition. And from the time that I started watching, and they were coached by Lou Holtz at the time in the late 70s, annually appearing in major bowl games and finishing in the top 10. Had a nice run with Ken Hatfield as well. Had some dips in the 1990s and so forth, but were generally good. Danny Ford was there. Houston Nutt took over. They had a nice run under Houston Nutt. They finished in the top 10 once or twice with Houston Nutt. We know the demise of Bobby Petrino, but before that, they played in a Sugar Bowl as a top 10 team. They played in a Cotton Bowl and beat Kansas State as a top 10 team, had a nice run. Then they bottomed out, of course, as Brett Bielema took over for Bobby Petrino. In that John L. Smith transition there. But and then it looked like Bielema had it on a good run. They were steadily climbing from a 3-win team to a 6-win to a 7 to an 8-game winner that second to last season. And then he was through most of his final season looking to take another step. They were off to another good start, and then it just all came crashing down. They blew a huge lead, their finale against Missouri. They blew another huge lead in the bowl game, and suddenly Brett Bielema was looking at a final season at Arkansas, and just all came crashing down. But we've got Chad Morris, and he looks to rebuild the program. And certainly it's difficult from the standpoint of recruiting numbers and volumes of players there in Arkansas. They certainly need to rely on going to Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and elsewhere to do that. And of course, they've got to play in the best division, what I consider to still be the best division in college football. Right, Stephen. One other thing comes to mind before I let you go, and it involves recruiting at Alabama. Nick Saban was posed the question about just how he's able to continue to just churn out national championship teams, elite status, despite the loss of coaches and the turnover. And he did mention that it's difficult, that even though he's got a good system in place and obviously brings, even though he loses tremendous coaches, then he does a nice job of hiring and bringing great talent to the staff, that the one disconnect that's made in that whole process is the relationship building in the recruiting process, because you have assistant coaches that reach out to these kids as sophomores, let's say in high school, start to build a relationship, and then it's severed when they move on to another program. And it was interesting to hear him touch upon that. And again, I don't know if you heard that, because that was on the SEC network broadcast, but him conveying his thoughts about recruiting, and that being one thing that has really hurt Alabama in terms of trying to maintain those relationships because of the coaching changes.
It does hurt. It does hurt, Mark, just due to a lot of these young athletes. They have, or they feel, or they get close to a position coach. They get close to an assistant coach, and I get it. A lot of Alabama fans feel like, well, the coaches may come and go, but Nick is still there. As long as Nick's there, everything else falls in place. But for some guys, Nick Saban's not enough, especially when a lot of these young men, they come from a family of structure. They have mom and dad at home. And when you come from a family of structure, that's what you're used to. And if you enter a situation to where there's no structure, there's no stability, your instinct is to repel, because you're entering an arena that you're not used to. It's not, familiar to you, not having that stability. So for Nick Saban, it's always been trying to keep a coaching staff together, but not just that, it's keeping a staff of coaches together that have that continuity with the community, keeping those coaches together that have some roots in the state of Alabama, some roots with the local high schools around here, some roots with these high school coaches, these high school boosters, people that, make up that community. He wants to try to keep as many coaches around that have that pipeline. And if you've got that pipeline, you can make sure you maintain home. Now, of course, he's always going to get guys from California to cover the West Coast, and places like Maryland and Pennsylvania, Georgia, to make sure the East Coast is okay and around the region. But most importantly for Nick is keeping those guys, those local guys that are from this state, with this coaching staff, so you can keep the home front and line.
Stephen M. Smith, Touchdown Alabama. You can hear the obvious passion, insight, knowledge, and information soaked up by this gentleman and his ability to convey it to us. Stephen, we always appreciate you stopping by. I know that it's been a long few days for you, so thanks so much for stopping by. I know you've got a ton of work to do on your site as well and elsewhere, so we appreciate your time, sir.
No problem, Mark. Thank you as always.
This is our guy, Stephen M. Smith from Touchdown Alabama, talking Tide at SEC Football Media Days. I released videos this week on LSU in Florida, also Iowa State from the Big 12. Tomorrow, we're going to hear more from SEC Football Media Days. Also, I believe Kentucky's coming. I forget who else I've got lined up over the next few days, but we've got plenty on the way concerning the various football media days. And of course, the Big Ten is underway in Chicago tomorrow. And for you Ohio State fans who might have missed it, we had our live show last night on a Tuesday night as the boys were traveling to Chicago tonight. All right. I appreciate the hearty few who are on the line. Thanks so much for joining me. We've been on the line since 7 o'clock. I'm going to let everyone go. We will have a call-in show here sometime soon, maybe over the weekend. And again, I've been asked this question a number of times about a regular schedule, and I really need to lock in on that. But I think it's going to take until football season when I really consider the football schedule before I do that. For those of you who were with us this time last year and through the football season, you know that I was religiously meeting my live stream schedule during the football season. And then it kind of came off the rails due to some personal and professional changes with my schedule. And I've not been able to keep anything consistent with the live streams. But we obviously are consistent on Wednesday night with Florida State at 7, Miami at 8, Ohio State at 9. But in regards to the call-in shows, which I love, that's the favorite thing I do, is the call-in shows. And there you go. We got a call. Should I really? Maybe I'm going to guess who this is. I'm going to go Deep Barat.
The call will start at the beep.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Hey, Mark, it's George. How you doing?
Oh, it's George. I was going to say George. Did you hear the last thing I said before I took the call was I should guess who's on the line, and I was about to say you, but I said Deep Barat. George, how you doing?
It could have been Deep Barat. You're right. I think I got him. I had him a little discombobulated from the chat section. He was a little slow on the phone call.
I see that he's really tearing it up on the live chat. Many of the things I've heard him say about 37,000 times about Texas.
I'm really glad he's there. He kind of makes it look like I'm not the only one that does that kind of shit.
What are you up to tonight?
I'm Mark. Oh, my God. I can't believe the game's on the schedule when I look at the season. This is going to be great for you.
It is going to be great. Oh.
Yeah, it's just too much.
Can you imagine, George, the couple days leading up to that Miami-Florida game, and then once that thing is played, the people are going to be going crazy. It's going to be a whole lot of fun.
Hey, I really feel sorry for somebody's fan base. One of us are just going to be devastated.
It's going to be fun for me because the talk is just going to be rabid. I hope that we really get it revved up. I think we will. It'll be fun talking to all of you before and after the game. And because of that game being by itself that week, I love that as well.
I do not take Miami for granted.
Yeah, I know you're just having fun on the live streams when you post all those ridiculous scores, but I know that you do not take them for granted.
Man, I watched their freaking highlight reels and the short versions of their games. I mean, dude, that's a scary freaking football team. They are incredible.
If they get one of those young quarterbacks prepared, they will be.
Mark Richt as a coach,
yeah,
they were incredible.
Well, I'm not going to quite go to the incredible level at 7-6, but I get your point.
Yeah, the good plays, like like in the middle of a game, the guy they did some incredible plays, man. They have the potential.
They do.
I think,
they do.
If they really, really, really got their stuff together, they could be Clemson. They have the athletes.
Did you happen to check out Dan Mullen this week on SEC Media Days?
I've seen every minute of it. It was so great. I've watched it over and over.
That's tremendous. That's tremendous.
It's the Mullen dynasty, man. You know it. Everybody knows it. Dan Mullen is like a mad scientist more than a football coach.
He has that way about him at times. And now that you bring it up.
Yeah. It's all an act. Like I play golf and I do this. And I'm a cool guy. Bullshit. He's a freak on a chalkboard drawing X's and O's. He's a mad scientist, man. You can't stop him. You cannot stop him all on offense. It's impossible. There's like 15 options. You're not going to get away. We're going to get you. We're going to score 40 points every game this year. And the defense is going to be the story of the year. Like, I just don't I'm so sick of hearing about Miami's defense. The story of the game is Florida's defense. That's going to be the storyline at the end of the game. Florida's defense. Do they have any idea what's about to happen?
They apparently don't, unless they're listening to you.
Well, our coach was tried to hire away by Cincinnati or Cleveland or somebody, and he said no. And he only came back because Dan Mullen probably gave him $100,000 in a duffel bag, and he knows the players he has. This is our year. If we don't do it this year, we might have a couple down years. It's our chance. We got the players. So we got the players, and everybody that transferred wasn't going to play anyway. Dan Mullen wanted the empty roster spots. Dan Mullen's a scientist. And nobody transferred that he didn't want to transfer. He looked at people and said, young man, you could do better at Appalachian State. You'll be a star. He's a nice guy.
I am going to put the number in the live chat because I've been asked to, and we've got Christian on the line. Christian, you can give me a call. It's going to be the last one of the night. I'm about done here, but I will certainly take calls. We'll be taking calls for the next 5 weeks before the season. Yes. I know you're not. George.
I have respect. I have respect for Auburn. I have respect for LSU. I even have respect for Alabama. I have respect for Ole Miss. I have respect for a lot of teams. I feel sorry for FSU fans. I recognize Miami's heritage. But Mark, I lied the other day. I said it was 63 and 65. It's 29 and 26, the all-time Florida-Miami record. They have 3 games on us, and Mullen's about to correct that.
Interesting.
They're only going to have 2 games on us after this year. My friend just said I'm sitting too close to the microphone.
No, you sound loud and clear. I appreciate your advertisements on the live streams as well. Certainly, maybe next week when we've got...
It took me 2 years to do that. After 2 years of thinking about it, I realized this is such a simple thing, man. If everybody would just do this, Mark would get like $300 a year if 200 people would do it or something. They just use that portal to go to Amazon,
Yeah, and I've done it myself, ordered some things. It's exactly the same. So I would hope that people would do that just to help out the channel.
It doesn't add a penny to the price. It's paying you for putting a portal on your website.
That's it.
And
that's the deal.
Get like a penny, so it's no big deal. You got to have like 100 people to do it.
Yeah, I need a lot of people to do it. Yes, I need a lot of people to do it. But that's the thought. We got 11,000 here. Subscribers, that if we get some people to contribute, that we can build this thing out.
I guarantee you, when you have 1 million viewers, that will be worth like 10 grand a year to you if you just keep doing it.
We'll keep plugging away. We will.
You'll be like, yeah.
All right, George, I appreciate you calling. You have a great night.
All right, and I'm not even going to make no ridiculous prediction. I'm just going to let it go, and we'll play the game and see what happens.
Okay. We'll save it for next time. All right, George. We'll see you.
Good night.
Our man, George, who reminds everyone to like the videos. He also reminds everyone the Amazon link is available for you. All right, everyone. I greatly appreciate your support. We've got more conference media days, my analysis, other analysis from bloggers and broadcasters coming up very soon. What's on tap for the rest of the night? Exercise. I'm going to hit the gym. Yeah, I'm going to hit the gym this late, but I got to eat. Getting a text from somebody. Got to do those 2 things. And yeah, I got all this business to do with this deal, with this channel. I got videos to cut and get out there. I just started taking notes on team previews. So, man, the clock is running down on me, considering that we're about 45 days away from our first game, and I've put out no actual team previews, but I've put so many previews out there with position previews and schedule rankings that it's out there. But I want to do position, or I want to do team previews, and I've taken some notes on Florida State, Miami, and Clemson. So So we're starting with the ACC Giants. Tim, I do have a home mortgage. Thank you so much for the offer there. All right, very good. Thank you so much, everyone. Cheryl, Deep Barat, Tim, Apex, James, thanks so much for showing up. We appreciate it. James giving me the business on the Buckeyes, I guess, and also saying that I don't give SEC schools the business. Oh, come on, James. You got to listen a little bit more. I do. Christian, Lamar, thanks so much for dropping by. Everybody, Swamp Tiger. And we will see you, all of you guys, soon. And again, I'm going to keep cranking out the content. And if you got any recommendations, any suggestions, any requests for videos, please let me know and we will do our best. See you next time. Enjoy the college football that's only about 45 days away.